Well, hello and welcome to the show. Um, we're going to talk about Crystal Turner and Kylen Schulte. They are a newlywed couple who lived in Moab, Utah, and they were found shot to death at their campsite near Moab. The case came to light because, well, it started getting attention because one of these women had actually worked at the co-op where Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie had the altercation that led to their being stopped and interacting with the police. It's believed, or it's being said, that these two women were actually present that day when Brian and Gabby had their falling out. Some interesting things are that Crystal and Kylen were originally camping in a different location than the location where they were found murdered. They moved from their original location to the second campsite because they had told some friends and they had told Kylen's father that they had been having problems with a creepy guy at their campsite, that he intimidated them. And so, out of fear, they moved from the original campsite to the second campsite where they were murdered. We're going to get into some details on that. Get my other feed up and running so that I can share some stuff with you. Yeah, this one. There we go. I am pulling it together for you right now. It's kind of an odd time for me to go live. I usually go live a little earlier than this, but I had some other things going on tonight. I was actually working on a video for the Bring Me Home series, and I think that one is going to be interesting. It's from my hometown. Young man who's been missing for like 17 years, almost 20 years, and he's never been found. But there's like three people awaiting trial for his murder, and they haven't released a whole lot of fine detail on that, but they released a lot. It's an interesting story. So I was working on that video and came across this story with Kylen and Crystal. Uh, in the course of just me researching, something live popped up with Gabby Petito, and one thing led to another. Let me. So just to get started on the timeline a little bit about the couple. Crystal was 38 and Kylen was 24. I did not put down here when they got married. I'm so sorry. How could I forget that information? But they got married earlier this year. The last time that they were seen was leaving Woody's Tavern, and that's a bar in Moab. They were last seen leaving there around 9:30 in the evening. They had spent a couple of hours there hanging out with friends, having a few drinks. And Woody's Tavern, the owner actually ended up making a rather long Facebook post, and it's pretty long. I put that in my discussion tab. If you want to go and read it, I put the full text of that and also a link to the original post. But basically, uh, the Facebook post says these two women were very much in love with each other and very focused, and they focused their attention was always on each other. The owner added that despite reports that the women had been followed out, no one followed them out the door. And the post goes on to criticize how investigators are handling that case. Now, it wasn't even the police who found their bodies. Apparently, the police looked for them, but it was actually a friend who found their bodies. And the friend was on the phone with Kylen's brother at the time that she found them. Oh goodness, my window does not want to get right. All right, when she found their bodies, um, they weren't actually in their campsite. They were near their campsite in a creek. They were naked from the waist down, and they had multiple gunshot wounds all over their body. Uh, the police, and they were found on the 18th. On the 19th, the police served a search warrant, and it was on the campsite. What they found there, some of the items they found there was a Kia Sorrento, a camping tent, a makeshift rabbit shelter. Apparently, they like to take their pet rabbit with them camping, and they found amenities for long-term camping. And I'm gonna assume that's old stoves, propane stoves, cooking items, just stuff you're gonna need if you're gonna be out there for a while. Um, I want to pull up, if you want to go to Court TV, and I have the links for all the articles in my video description. If you want to go and read them in full, I'm not going to read a whole bunch of articles just back to back. Um, but I did find some interesting highlights in a lot of these articles. On Court TV, they gave more detail on the search warrant. And they also noted how Schulte, Kylen, had told the friends about. She actually said that if something happens to us, we were murdered. And this was apparently before they moved camp from their original site to the site where they were found. uh, Kylen had told a friend that if something happens to us, then we were murdered. And then they were talking about this creepy guy that kind of scared and intimidated them, which is why they left their original camp and went to another camp. Now, in an article posted on August the 15th from ABC4News in Moab, they said that when the couple hadn't been heard from in 3 days, because they left that bar on the 13th around 9:30 p.m. and apparently they weren't seen for a few days. People started to miss them. I I read I heard on one live stream that they had missed work for like 2 days, but from what I've been reading in the articles, I'm not even sure if either of them actually worked at that food co-op anymore. Um, Kylan apparently used to work there as a cashier because in one of the articles, a local woman who owns or runs a coffee shop was talking about her and how nice of a person she was, and saying how sometimes, like if she ran out of supplies at the coffee shop, she would have to run over to the food co-op to get things that she needed. And she was saying how Kylan would know, that she would be in a hurry. She's got to get back to the coffee shop, and she would always quickly take care of her and get her in and out of the store. And she was talking about how nice she was, good personality, uh, sweet person, good vibes. So, in that article from ABC4 News, one portion of the text says, when the couple hadn't been heard from in 3 days, Hunter, that's one of their friends, Hunter got a phone call from Kylan's father in Montana because apparently all of their family was like out of state. Crystal moved there about 6 years ago, and her and Kylan met. I could have that wrong. It could have been Kylan that moved there. Yeah, Kylan moved there 6 years ago, and she met Crystal, and they've been in their relationship since then. So all of Kylan's family was out of state. There was no one local for her. I couldn't find any information on Crystal's family in the news articles that I researched, but it says when the couple hadn't been heard from in 3 days, Hunter got a call from Kylan's father in Montana. He said, I just found out there was a creeper dude that they were scared of, that they needed to move from their camp. Hunter said, all of a sudden, I had such a sense of urgency. Hunter eventually found their campsite on Wednesday and was on the phone with Kyla's father as she searched the area. Hunter says, then I saw her body and I turned away. I think something inside me didn't want to acknowledge what I had seen. So I was looking at the beauty of the creek and everything and talking to the father the whole time. And I turned around again to make myself see, and it was her. So I can't imagine, going out and looking for a friend and walking up on that. Now, in the search warrant information that came from CourtTV, it did say that both of them were naked from the waist down and that they had multiple gunshot wounds all over their body. And one thing that I thought was they might have been uh, assaulted because they were having issues with that guy. And then for them to be found stripped from the waist down kind of puts that idea on the table. Um, it was originally thought that this double homicide could possibly be related to the Gabby Petito disappearance, but once I started reading the details of the crime scene of how they found Kylan and Crystal, then it was really it was really easy to understand why law enforcement so quickly ruled that it was unrelated. Hi, friend. Welcome to the chat. Um, I'm glad you found me too. I hope you enjoy my content. I'm kind of new at this, so I'm kind of learning as I go, but I do hope that you enjoy the content that I present and the stories that I share with you. Um, on September 16th, I found a story that was posted to ID Discovery Plus on their crime feed portion of their website. And some of the text that I found interesting in that article, and again, the link is in the description if you want to read the whole thing. I don't want to read like entire articles like that, but it says we were just having a great time, and this is a friend that they were hanging out with at Woody's bar at Woody's Tavern, who's speaking in this section, and she says we were just having a great time, having a couple drinks, and all they said was there was a creep staying next to them. This friend's name is Kayla Borza, and she says, and that was it. The article went on to say that the next day, Schulte and Turner seemed to vanish. 4 days later, on August 18th, a family friend who launched her own search for the missing pair discovered their remains in the LaSalle Mountains. Family, and yeah, this was another like unrelated section of that same article, but it said the family hoped to bury Kylen Schulte next to her brother, McKeon Daniel Schulte, who was, quote, lost to negligent gun ownership, unquote, in 2015 at the age of 15 when he was shot and killed by a friend. The late sibling's aunt wrote on a GoFundMe started to help pay expenses. And that is so sad. I mean, just think about it. 2015, that was only, what, 5.5 years ago, maybe six? And to lose your 15-year-old son, and then now here they are losing their daughter. I can't even imagine what the parents are going through, that whole family, but especially the parents, because no parent expects to bury their kid. Hold on for a second. I gotta get off the mic just a second. I love my little grandbabies. Yeah, that is definitely too much sadness for one family. It's just that's a lot, man. I was saying no parent really expects to like have to bury their kids. Like that's just not the natural order of things, you know. We're supposed to get old and we die and they bury us and you know, carry on. I just and I've seen that grief personally. I've seen, you know, a parent who's lost a child a parent that was very close to me and I can't imagine. I can't imagine. But the links for the GoFundMe's are in my video description. There's a GoFundMe for each of the victims. One of them has actually met the goal, and they're referring actually on the GoFundMe. They're referring people over to the GoFundMe for the second woman, so that they can get her laid to rest with dignity as well. Uh, Tips, the information, if you want to send in tips, is also in the description. That's going to be the Grand County Sheriff's Office. There's a phone number there. There is a potential for up to a $20,000 reward. Two businesses in the area each put up $10,000 in reward money. And as a matter of fact, I can just tell you a little about that. It says the Grand County Sheriff's Office is working alongside the Federal Bureau of Investigations and the Utah State Bureau of Investigations to investigate the deaths of a recently married 38-year-old Crystal Turner, and 24-year-old Kylen Schulte. Earlier this week, a local business contractor wishing to remain anonymous offered $10,000 in reward for pertinent information that assists in the arrest and conviction of the person or persons involved in the deaths of Turner and Schulte. On Thursday, the Grand County Sheriff's Office announced a second $10,000 reward has been offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons involved in the deaths of Turner and Schulte by Sacred Earth One LLC, a private lending company based in Moab. All right, and here are the details on the GoFundMe. Apparently, the Schulte family uh, is the family that is no longer accepting donations. They've raised over $33,000. Um, that's the family who also lost a 15-year-old son, and they are directing everyone to the GoFundMe for Crystal Turner to help get her buried. I did look at the GoFundMe's earlier, and Crystal's GoFundMe at that time had only raised around $5,000. All right. I have this full Facebook post here. I was going to read it, but oh my goodness, it's a book. I do want to read this last part of it because it was noted specifically that he had some issues with the way that the police are handling the investigation. So I'm picking up probably about mid post. He says, "We gave the police the footage of the exit and the area where they were sitting, hoping to be of any help we could, but it's like talking to a wall because they just aren't listening. Now they requested footage of the entire bar for days after, which is mind blowing to us because they would be watching film of events that happened more than likely after they were killed. We don't care about the cameras or the footage. What we care about is that while they are wasting time looking at video that is completely irrelevant to anything, the killer is getting further and further away. The first 48 hours are the most important. And friends and coworkers knew by Sunday that something was wrong. Yet it wasn't the police who found them, it was a family friend determined to help. My daughter had to ask why no one has asked for her statement or her coworkers who were there when the two victims were in the tavern. I mean, why wouldn't that be something done right away? The police say they're confused by the two friends that were with them and that it is the excuse we keep getting. It's not very well written and it's it's a lot. The police say they're confused by the two friends that were with them, and that is the excuse we keep getting about the day being mixed up. But I know for a fact that one of the girls said it was Friday, so it just doesn't make sense. And he kind of rants on a little more there. He talks about the girls mentioning the guy, the creepy guy, who was the reason that they moved their camp to a different location. He rants a little bit more about the investigation, and he closes out by saying, "Have you caught the killer? Do you have even a clue as to who did this? No, you don't. So don't limit our concern when two women were just murdered for no reason and you don't have a clue and weren't even the ones who found them." So he is not pleased at all with how the police are handling the investigation. Hopefully, some more details will come out about that. Maybe some locals will start talking. Um, and we'll get a better understanding of why this tavern owner is so upset with the police officers and the way that they're handling the case. There was a story, and I'm sorry, but my computer, you can see I've been reading quite a few stories. But there was a case there was an article I wanted to share with you, and I believe this is it because it really kind of talked about them. Yeah, it is. It's a good thing that he made that statement because I like it when people point things out like that because a lot of times things do get kind of swept under the rug for whatever reason, and it's good to publicize that when you don't think something is right because that might just be the pressure that needs to be applied to make people move the way they need to move. All right, and this is them at their wedding. This is the friend who found them, the one who was on the phone with the father um, when she found them at their camp. This is just another picture of them, and this is the really the reason I wanted to kind of share this article because it did have some nice pics of them. Right. And that's a picture of Kylen right there. Kylen is the one whose father was on the phone with the friend. She is the one who is originally from out of state who moved to Utah. All right. This one's short, so I guess we'll just read this one real quick and then I'll probably close the live. I don't want to make like hours and hours long lives just to make them. All right, newlyweds Kylen Schulte and Crystal Beck. Oh, that's odd. Her name is Crystal Beck on here, but it's Crystal Turner everywhere else. They thought that at first, and I actually thought that too until I saw the details of how these two were found. Now, originally, I did think too that it might be related because the the food co-op where Gabby and Brian were when they had that altercation and someone ended up calling the police on them. Well, Kylen worked at that food co-op as a cashier. I can't really find clarification on if she currently worked there. I came across a piece of information that both of them actually were employed there and that they had missed work for 2 days. But I've heard a couple of different things about their employment status at that co op. I've also heard that one or both of them was actually there at the co op the day that Gabby and Brian had their falling out. So that led me to think, okay, there might be something to that. And honestly, I was like, oh goodness, maybe this dude's like a spree killer or a serial killer or something, and we just don't know it. But when they said that they found these women, in the state of undress that they were in, then I kind of want to think maybe it's not related. The law enforcement has said that it's not related, but just because of that, I kind of want to think that it's not related. However, there is always the chance. Okay, they were both there. Okay, and friend says it's a small town too. Now, yeah, I kind of want to think it was related because here's the thing, right? If he hurt if Brian hurt Gabby, what's being said, even by the law enforcement that encountered them, is that they had mental health issues. Family and friends are saying that they've been known to, specifically Brian's sister, when she was talking, they're known to get into it with each other. Um, she didn't really detail like how violent or whatever it was, but they're known for falling out. If he indeed hurt her, if they both suffer from mental illnesses, maybe he snapped and he killed her and he killed them. Maybe they saw something. Maybe he thought they would be able to point him out because they saw him earlier that day at the co-op getting into it with Gabby. It could go a few different ways. Plus, the fact that these girls were shot dead makes me wonder if he had a gun, if it's known whether or not he owned a gun or had access to one, because we saw earlier on the breaking news live feeds from the Tampa news agencies that they went to his house and they did come out and they searched a silver Mustang, and it seemed like they were looking for something specific. They didn't really search it very long. They were only in it for a minute. They opened the door, popped the trunk. One officer went in the trunk. He apparently didn't see whatever he was looking for. The other officer was up in like the front seat area. He was looking around. Apparently didn't see what he was looking for. So it makes me think that they were looking for something specific in that car. Could they possibly have been looking for a gun? Um, and didn't find it? Because when they left the car, they went back in the house and they didn't go back to the car at all. I was expecting that they probably would have impounded it. So whether or not he had or had access to a gun, looked like they took a phone out of the car. Did they? I'll go back and watch that again. When I came in on that live, I actually came in just as they were walking up to the car. I heard they were going to tow the car. I thought they would have, but they never did. At the well, they didn't during the time that news was live. It's possible they could have towed it after that, but at the time that the news feeds were still live, the car was still there, and there was like a van parked behind it. Now they could have been waiting because that crowd out there was rowdy. I mean, they were out there with signs and bull horns and everything else. But back to Kylen and Crystal, it says tragically, in August 2021, it was announced that the couple had been found shot dead at a campsite in the LaSalle Mountain Range. And here is the latest. Schulte, 24, and Beck, 38, who is also known as Crystal Turner. Yeah, I knew that name was Turner, were avid campers in the Moab Mountains. Born September 5th, 1996, in Vail, Colorado, Schulte was a cashier at the Moonflower Community Cooperative. So she was a cashier at that same co-op right now. Schulte's grandmother said that she was, quote, was like sunshine brightening any room she walked into and loved to laugh. We will never get over this tragedy, but we will let the story of her memories take over, unquote. Not much information is available on Beck, but the Conan Daily reports they were married in April of 2020. So they haven't even been married very long. They're still in the honeymoon phase. A GoFundMe page was set up for Schulte so that her family could raise money to have her body transported to Montana so she could be buried next to her brother, who was also killed back in 2015 due to a gun accident at 15. What happened to them? On August 14th, 2021, Schulte and Beck were reported missing while camping in the mountains. On Wednesday, August 18th, 2021, the two women were then found shot to death off a scenic road that runs through the national forest. It was later reported that the bodies were identified as the missing women. just days before the couple had told friends that they were moving to another site because there was a quote weirdo camping near them that was freaking them out, unquote. A spokesman for the sheriff's office revealed that investigators don't believe that their deaths are the result of a murder suicide and are treating it as a homicide investigation. And it's good that they pointed out that they don't think it's a murder suicide, because that was one of my original thoughts until I started reading more about the story, is maybe this is a murder suicide type thing. Sheriff Stephen White told KUTV, "We do think it was an outside party. There has not been any firearms recovered from the area at this time. No additional information has been released." Did they have kids? Since the discovery of their bodies, not much additional information has been released about the couple. It has been assumed that the two did not have any children, as they were avid campers, and there has been no mention of children accompanying them. How are their deaths linked to the disappearance of Gabby Petito? The couple's deaths came just days after missing Gabby Petito and her fiance Brian Laundrie were said to have argued at the Moonflower Co-op where murdered Kylen Schulte worked. Moments before their deaths, they had texted friends that a man had allegedly been creeping them out. Given the closeness of time and location of the two incidents, investigators have since speculated whether they could be linked. On September 16th, 2021, the Grand County Sheriff's Office announced in a press release that they have been, quote, in contact with Florida authorities and were actively looking into any connection between the two cases. I want to say that I also read that these two women have a connection to Florida. I'm going to look more into that because I'm going to cover this case a little more. I know Gabby Petito is getting a lot of attention, but this case, it just struck me as interesting. I do believe I heard that both of these women had a connection to Florida. The Grant County Sheriff's Office continues to investigate any information received concerning the double homicide. The Sheriff's Office is not ruling anything out at this time and appreciate the concerns of the public and their willingness to contact this office with those concerns and information. Utah investigators had previously admitted they were, quote, not ruling out anything in their investigation into the murders. Yeah, that crowd was something else. Okay, the Mustang wasn't being searched. They were getting personal belongings for Brian's parents because it's their car. They were towing the car that's reported in there. Okay, thanks for that information, Stephen. Yeah, I don't really listen to the scanners. I probably should though. I used to listen to them just for the heck of it. I should probably start back listening to them now if I'm gonna do a YouTube channel on true crime. And yeah, that crowd was loud. I mean, I at one point I thought they were just gonna go in there and drag him out if he was in there. I mean, they got to holler, bring him out, bring him to us. So, like I said, I got on here a little later than I usually do. I usually try to get on sometime around or before 3 a.m. So I was late, which means I'll have to end it live. Yes, indeed, a real mob. I mean, they had signs and everything. I was just, I don't even really know what to think about that. I mean, like, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, is it because I think one person that the news reporter spoke to said they had driven from like an hour away to come there. I mean, and it's kind of in a way it's good that so many people have such strong feelings about that, and they want to make sure that this young lady is found. This that case that whole thing is just weird. Like I really can't believe that the police have not talking to what's they've called him a person of interest. So I'm gonna say suspect number one. Dude went on a vacation with someone, was seen arguing with this person to the point that the police were called. Then he shows up in Florida with her van and not her. Gets a lawyer immediately. If that ain't suspect, I didn't believe he's been gone since Tuesday either. I'm sure there are some channels out there who might want to call him, but I have feelings about that. Like I don't think YouTubers should insert themselves in the case like that. I mean, because basically you got to think about it. If I call him and I talk to him, right, that means that's one more person that the police have to talk to see if he told me anything that might help find Gabby. That's phone records that they gotta subpoena. It's too much. I really don't think YouTubers should talk to suspects and people involved in crimes. I saw that photo too, the one where he's like walking down the street in the black pants. I mean, it could be maybe if he shaved his beard, because it looked like that person didn't quite have a beard, but the head seemed like it was shaped right. The body seemed the right build. But yeah, I don't wanna talk to that dude. I don't wanna talk to anybody that's got anything to do with being suspicious. I mean, shoot, you could serve me up Don Wells on a platter right now and I would throw him away. I don't want no parts of it. Now, if you talk to him and he tells you some interesting things, then you're more than welcome to share those interesting things with me and I will include it in the live. You can email me at misssavagesays@gmail.com. I'm working on a Facebook page as well, guys. I was just kind of doing this just because of some. Really, I started this channel just because of Summer. Like when all the attention started going to all this other scandalous foolishness and like got off her, I was like, somebody really needs to just keep it about her. So she was the number one reason that I started the channel, but I'm just gonna keep it going. So I'm working on a Facebook page. Uh, so we can do some groups and have some more in-depth conversations, some higher level conversations that you really can't have on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube. Uh, I don't really know how like Discord and all that stuff works, but possibly there because Facebook can be kind of restrictive as well. And I know we're kind of off topic. We've stopped talking about Kylen and Crystal, but I wanted to put this out here since I got a few people here in the course of Don talking and rambling and all the stuff that's come out with that case. I've been doing like a lot of research on my own time, just out of curiosity. A lot of it comes from things that Don has said or things that other people have said. And so I've been doing a lot of research on SA, child SA, the mentalities of the abuser, the effects on the abused. I found some really interesting stuff. Even studies out of Switzerland where because Switzerland keeps records of sexual offenders. I mean, for generations. And they've done studies of kind of, but I didn't really pay much attention to Chris Watts because that was pretty much an open and shut case. He was cheating on his wife. He wanted out. He's a family annihilator and a bad liar. Yeah, it is a very heavy subject. But yeah, the study out of Switzerland was going into how being an SA SAer, it's so weird to say that. Being an SAer could possibly be genetic. But again, like I said, it's really not YouTube material. So I'm trying to find a different platform to where we can just have some real grown folks conversation. I I might read up on it. It seems like a lot of people are into that case. I might read up on it a little bit. I'll probably never cover it, but I'll probably read up on it just to be more familiar with it. Um, but yeah, if you guys know any platforms where we can just talk without having to say, I mean, who says SA? We grown. Really? Well, that's interesting. Maybe I should go ahead and I might just do take tomorrow and just read about him and see what's up with that. Because Don is such a wow. I don't know what to say about him. He's something else. That whole case, though, man, that whole case is just a whole bunch of bad. Like I can't. You could throw a grain of sand and guaranteed to hit 10 people that just bad. They just bad, just evil, just awful, horrible. Um, yeah, I do have to get off of here though. It's like 5:30 in the morning where I'm at, and I will be back on tomorrow about the same time. You can look for me anytime after midnight. Oh, Brian. Huh. That might be interesting too. How so? Like, what is it about Brian? Because I mean, it's a new case, so I really haven't read a whole lot about Brian yet. It's nice to meet you too, friend. It's nice to meet you also, Stephen. I'm really enjoying having you guys in here and talking to you. Cause like it's so weird when I'm doing lives and I don't have anybody in here and it's just like me talking to my computer. I feel weird. You know, it's great to have someone to carry on the conversation, bring up new ideas, add to the conversation. But yeah, let me get off of here. I'll be back on. You can look for me anytime between after midnight, usually between midnight and 3 a.m. is when I do my lives. Chris Watts TV interview on his board. I definitely will. I'm about to actually just sit over here and watch some videos anyway, so I guess I'll be watching Chris Watts stuff. Thank you all for joining me. I hope to see you again tomorrow night. Y'all take it easy.